Did play calling cost Jackson State the game against UL Monroe? I'm going to tell you no, it didn't, but it didn't help. Also, despite the loss, JSU is a real threat in the SWAC this season. Let's talk about it after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsy Jr. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload all the time. Now, JSU had their close loss to UL Monroe 30-14 on Thursday night. It was a season debut for a lot of Tigers, including quarterback Jacobian Morgan and the return of T.C. Taylor back as the play caller. And this game was close all throughout. Honestly, it came down to the very end. There wasn't big separation in the, at the end of the day in their game against UL Monroe, the FBS team. They had a very real shot at beating UL Monroe. Going into the fourth quarter, it was 21-14? 21-14 going into the fourth quarter is a one-possession game in the fourth quarter. And some things just got away from them. And some things just got away from JSU. But what I will say is that the thing that I think that shocked most people that were watching the game that are fans of JSU and that are fans of Coach T.C. Taylor was the play calling. I felt like JSU athlete for athlete, matched up very well against UL Monroe. Travis Terrell, the real deal. He's the guy that they've all been talking about throughout the offseason. He was the real deal. Irv Mulligan and J.D. Martin didn't play. So they were hurt. That was something that was revealed day of the game. And they were replaced with the big carries by Ahmad Miller, who's only a sophomore, true sophomore, and Travis Terrell, the true freshman. And they more than held their own. Ahmad Miller was stiff arming. He had the Walter Payton stiff arm. I don't know if Walter came down, touched him like angels in the outfield, but Ahmad Miller was putting dudes in the ground. He was burying dudes with his stiff arm, a stiff arm that looked like Walter Payton's. And Travis Terrell was making dudes missing a phone booth. These two dudes popped out the entirety of the time. The offense looked solid. The offensive line looked solid. If you look, they gave up 2 sacks, but UL Monroe only gave up 2 sacks. So the offensive line got nice push. Wasn't a crazy good running game. The run was much to be desired. But Jacobian Morgan went 23-28 with 228 yards. I feel like they didn't push the ball vertically enough. So there were a couple of things, and I think there's twofold. The play calling was confusing to me because I felt like on the outside, the one time JSU challenged UL Monroe vertically, they got a touchdown. It was the 41-yard bomb that Jacobian threw to who did he throw it to? He threw it to 16 for Tillian. The one time they pushed it down the field, they scored a touchdown. And I felt like they never really went back to it. Now, there's twofold to that. You can blame TC. You can say, hey, TC, you weren't being aggressive enough. And I don't think he was being aggressive enough on the offensive side of things. But that's okay because I think he called a solid game. The other thing was I don't think Jacobian saw the field well enough. And I think that is what influenced TC to not be as aggressive because there were times where guys were open. They tried to push it down the field, and Jacobian had an inaccurate pass. Jacobian would throw behind the receiver. There was a couple of drops, and I think that's what made TC call a more conservative game because Jacobian at times, even though he had an 82% completion percentage and almost 230 yards passing, I don't think he saw the field well enough for his coach to trust him to try to air it out more. I think that's what ended up like after really, thinking about it, letting it stew for a few days. I think that's what it was because the play calling did confuse me when you have the athletes that I think JSU has and that they were able to display out there. Like athlete for athlete on the offensive side of the ball versus UL Monroe's defense, they look pretty even. They look pretty freaking even. And that is saying a lot when you're playing against an FBS team. whatever kind of FBS team, the teams with 85 scholarships, the team that get all the luxury and amenities that you don't get, when you look pretty even against them lining up mano a mano, your linemen look just as good as their linemen, whether it's on the offense or defense side of things. That's saying something. And I think JSU looked good when they did at certain things. I think Ahmad Miller, Irv Mulligan is a player. So is JD Martin. But Ahmad Miller and Travis Terrell look good. Like they look really, really good. And although JSU lost that game 30-16 or 30-14, and they caught that last touchdown, it was even closer than that because they caught that last touchdown on K1 or 1K. And even that should have been intercepted. I mean, Kiever touched the ball. It bounced off his shoulder. He should have caught that. He should have caught that. Instead, it was a touchdown. And I think this game looks completely different. But I think moving forward, Jacobian is going to have to seal the field better because he's talented. When he runs the ball, he's talented. I think he has a very good arm strength, has a talented arm. The only thing that concerns his mechanics aren't the best. He throws it, even though he's 6'4", 6'5", instead of throwing it over the top, he kind of throws it from his head. That kind of concerns me at times, especially if the pocket gets cluttered. But the dude is talented. He's extremely talented as a runner. He's even talented as a thrower. He has to see the field better, though. And I think TC will call more aggressive play calls moving forward. I think he's learning too, man. He's the head coach, but it's only his second year as a head coach, and his first year actually calling the plays full time as the head coach of this season. And I think he'll learn from that Monroe game. I think he would admit he probably should have been a little more aggressive. I don't think Jacobian's play, as far as the way he was seeing the field, helped him, but TC will learn from this because your guys are talented. Like your offensive line is good and it's deep. Your running back room is good, really good, and it's deep. And those guys on the outside can make plays too. I think they were missing Isaiah Spencer as well. Enrico Powers really never got going. JSU is extremely talented. And from what I saw from FAMU the last 2 weeks and saw from Alabama State, I'm not like this SWAC and Southern with their loss. I mean, the SWAC is wide open. And do not count out the Tigers. I like right now, I like JSU's roster a whole lot, even after a loss to an FBS team versus some of the rest of the SWAC East and just the SWAC period. I like their roster a whole lot from after what I saw in that game. And so I think TC moving forward, be more aggressive on the play calling. The defense has to be able to make plays on the ball too. That was another thing. When that ball's in the air like it was 1K, you got to come up and continue to make tackles. Your linebacking play was vastly improved from last year to this year. Continue to make open field tackles and make plays on the ball when the ball's in the air. But this JSU team looks really, really good. And the SWAC, I think they're going to take a lot out on Lane this upcoming week on the field. I think Lane's in a world of trouble because they feel like they let that game slip away. JSU, I know in their locker room, they feel like they should have beat UL Monroe, and they gave that game up more so than UL Monroe taking that game. From the lack of aggressiveness in the play calling to not playing the ball better in the air to the drop passes and just Jacobian not seeing the field. They feel like all of those things, those are self-inflicted wounds. Those are not something that they forced you to do. And with all that being said, it was a one-possession game in the fourth quarter, and you come away with a 16-point loss that you feel like you should have won. And so I think this Lane game, after watching the tape, they're gonna put something on Lane. I honestly feel sorry for Lane being the next team going into the vet. Now I could be surprised. Lane can come out and shock the world. But from what I saw from JSU in week 1 against UL Monroe on a Thursday night, getting extra time to rest and to prep for this Lane game and for the rest of the SWAC to take notice on what happened against UL Monroe, I think they're going to show out big time in this game against Lane. And I like what the Tigers will be able to do on offense. I like this offense a lot, especially when Irv Mulligan, Isaiah Spencer, JD Martin, and those guys come back with Travis Terrell, with Ahmad Miller. It's going to be hard to take carries away from Ahmad Miller, man. He averaged 5 yards a carry in this game. He was stiff-arming dudes. He was making plays out of nothing. I mean, one time the ball fumbled. Like it was a bad snap. Ahmad ends up with the ball, makes positive yards. It's going to be hard keeping 27 off the field. 27 is a dog. It's going to be hard keeping him off the field, and it's going to be hard keeping Zero off the field. The JSU defense looked way better, got 2 sacks, still some miscues, still some things to clean up, especially on the run defense, shoring up that run defense. But this is going to be one of, if not the best team you play all year. This is going to be one of, if not the best team you play all year, an FBS opponent, and you held your own, and you really feel like you gave the game away. What does that say for the rest of the teams on your schedule? You very much can win the rest of your schedule. Beat all of those teams on there. We'll see if you're able to do it. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Once again, my name is Jeff Lightsy Jr. This is the Victor Formation Sports Show right here on Jeff Lightsy Jr. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JLightsy7. That is on Twitter and Instagram at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Peace.